It was at this moment that he knew.
He bucked up. Welcome. You're listening to Bucked Up with Sam Buck.
Fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you have fucked up.
Kip Da Fog, thank you. Chris, thank you so much for being on, man. I really appreciate you. And I can't believe we're actually in Lunenburg recording in my apartment right now.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's weird that you have a mural in Worcester, Massachusetts,
Yep.
that has some of the best rappers in the world. You do a mural with all of them, and we can get into that. But it's weird that it's in Worcester and that you're so close, because there's not much out in Western Massachusetts.
No.
Did you grow up around here?
Yeah, I grew up in Worcester.
You grew up in Worcester.
Yeah.
And then did you ever move away?
I went to college in Westfield for like a year and a half and then transferred back to Worcester State. So
Were you always an artist? You're an amazing artist. Or were you always an artist?
like growing up, my dad kind of painted like when I was real young. He got
Mhm.
like hurt and had surgery, so he started painting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do you get hurt?
Well, he was in a car accident when he was young, and he had to have surgery like years later to like take a plate out of his hip. So
Mhm.
he was laid up for like 6 months or a year, and he just started painting.
Oh, wow.
And then he really hasn't painted much since, but
What was his style?
it was kind of like oil painting, like landscapes and stuff.
Hmm. And was he like open about it, or did he do it kind of like in secret when you were growing up?
No, he like I'd watch him do it and stuff. You know, he just
Did you do it along with him at all, or were you like?
yeah, he kind of showed me how to do like certain stuff. You know, like
Mhm.
whatever I was into. Like I remember when I was like real little, I like Dragon Ball Z a lot, and he'd show me how to draw like the characters and stuff. You know,
How old were you at this time?
I don't really know, grade school, so maybe like
Yeah, young,
Yeah.
young. And then did you stick with it at all, like
No,
throughout
it was
high
ki-
school
it
and
was
college?
kinda all off and on.
Mhm.
You know, like I'd have moments like I worked overnights for a few years, and I got like a sketch bag, so I had nothing to do all night, and I would sketch, and then I kind of dropped it for a while,
Mhm.
and then now picked it up again.
Yeah. When did you pick it back up?
Um, Probably a year and a half ago or so.
What? So it's funny. So on a previous episode with artist Squat Dead Face, he was saying that he heard Fly God, and that just like gave him this vision to
Yeah.
start painting again after all these years.
Yeah.
You know, like what made you? Because you kind of went into the
Honestly,
Griselda.
it was kind of a similar story. I watched that podcast, and I
Yeah.
was like, I can relate to that.
What was it for you?
It was actually seeing people like his art and like, Sep, his art. And
Yeah.
Just like,
Shout out Seppington, another great artist.
and just like loving the music and seeing the art to go along with it. And
Mhm.
I think that was part of my problem is I never knew what to draw. Like, when I'd like, even like when I was working overnights and just sketching stuff, I would
Mhm.
just, whatever I could think of. And I never really enjoyed it that much because I didn't know what to draw, And
Yeah.
then when I saw this with the hip hop and everything else, I was like, it was kind of like two passions coming together. So I actually had something to.
Well, how did you find Griselda then? Or is that your branch into this style of music, or like were you always a rap fan?
Yeah.
What were you always like that grimy boom bap shit, or?
No, I've kind of been all over the place.
Mhm. I'm the same way. I
Yeah.
listen to like trappy I don't like the emo stuff, and that's probably the only style of rap
Yeah.
I don't like. But I'll listen to some pop rap.
Yeah,
I
I listen
like.
to a little bit of everything. Like right now, like predominantly, I listen to like, like that grimy New York stuff. but
Yeah. What
mean,
was the
I'll
first
listen to
project you
anything.
heard?
For
Griselda.
I don't know. My friend gave me. I remember he like showed it to me. It might have been Fly God.
Yeah,
I think it was.
that's such like a time-changing album. You know what I mean? It's weird. I don't know how you feel about it, but it's like because so much music comes out, there's not a lot of pieces that like when we look back on, we'll see as like groundbreaking. But I feel like that's kind of like the Enter the 36 Chambers, or like these albums that are looked back on as like, damn, that's a real influential album right
Definitely.
there. But so you heard that and you saw all these guys painting. or in drawing, and you were like, I want to pick that up again? Like,
Yeah, kind of. It kind of coincided with at the time, like I remember I was over one of my friend's house and he had a bunch of like flash sheets going down his staircase, and I'm like pretty big into tattoos and stuff. So I was like, yeah, I want to try and start doing that,
yeah.
and so I think I picked it up, and the first thing I did was like a flash sheet for like some Charlie Brown stuff.
Oh, really?
And it kind of was around the same time, like I was starting to think about doing art for like, like hip hop type stuff. And I kind of combined the two. That was what I started doing, is just like I'd like listen to an album and come up with like, traditional tattoo ideas that kind of depict the album.
Did you design any of your own tattoos?
No.
So was that kind of your artistic, how you were getting it out while you weren't drawing, was tattoos?
I guess you could say that. I mean, it was probably more music. Like I play in a band.
Oh, really? What do you play?
I play bass.
What type? What genre?
It's like hardcore music, so it's like nothing.
Oh, really? My dad's like a hardcore drummer. He was when I was growing up. So I went more into the rap, but I know that world.
Like I don't even really listen to it anymore. I grew up with it. Like, like in high school, I was in bands and stuff. And I always listened to it, but like lately, it's mostly just hip hop. Well, I enjoy playing it because it's fun to play, like the energy and everything. So
yeah. When did you start music?
I think like 8th grade or 9th grade.
And did you stick with that throughout all your?
Yeah, I mean, like in between bands and stuff, I wouldn't play as much.
All hardcore?
Yeah, I guess some of the earlier stuff might have been a little more like punk or like punk rock type stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly like hardcore stuff.
Well, it's like the same feeling that Griselda gives, that like kind of like dirt, the dirty, grimy, like I love that shit. And that's why it's really funny. You said your first sketches when you came back were of Charlie, like the Charlie Brown style. And you kind of like looking back at your history. Like I went back on your Instagram and you kind of went away from that, but then you kind of came back into it. What was it about Charlie Brown because your artwork is very inspired by 1,000 words and 2 Charlie Brown.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I guess I always just liked Charlie Brown and stuff. And when I started drawing, it just kind of, I don't know, it came naturally. I guess I could come up with a lot of ideas and run with it. And I guess it just hasn't got old yet. So
what about Charlie Brown though?
I mean, growing up, it was my favorite Christmas special.
Oh, wow. You have the Charlie Brown tattoo.
Yeah.
And it was just like a good childhood memory for you? Yeah,
I guess so. And I'm more of like that kind. I'm better at that kind of style, like cartoons and whatnot. I'm not as good at like doing portraits and.
Well, it fits your style so well. It is funny that like it kind of worked for you. So how'd you meet? Everyone check out, what's your Instagram? Kip Da Fog?
Yeah.
Everyone check it out before we go into this, but you draw Polaroids with like different artists and it's the Charlie Brown style.
Yeah.
But how the Polaroids did you do that before you met 1,000 Words?
No. Basically I hit him up to buy a pen because he was selling pins and I was like, yo, I kind of want one. He's like, well, I can't charge you because you're an artist. So we're going to have to do a trade. And he asked for one of the flash sheets that I was doing at the time. And I was like, all right, cool. And he gave me a couple ideas and I came up with the flash sheet. And before I sent it, I was kind of doing some of the Charlie Brown stuff. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do a little extra. And I did like 10 of his Polaroids and then like printed them out at CVS on like photo paper and sent them with the flash sheet. And then when he got them, he was like, yo, I love these. I want to keep it going. And I was like, all right, yeah.
What about the Polaroids drew you? You just wanted the pen, but what about like?
I mean, I just liked his photos and the Polaroids were real cool.
Do you remember the first one you did?
I think it was actually, It was either Rome Streets or one of him and Crime Apple. I don't remember which one I did first, but it was one of those two.
Yeah, and you sent the 10 over. Were you nervous about like sending your art to him because you were coming to him as like a fan? You know what I mean?
Not really, because he already knew like the stuff I was doing,
Mhm.
like, so that alone made me feel a little more comfortable, like he wanted one of the flash sheets. So
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Are you hard on your own work? Are you?
yeah, I don't really like most things I do. Like even like the graffiti at the wall and stuff. Like every time I do it, I'm like, I don't like it.
Is that what kind of? Did you ever have a drive to do this beforehand? Like when you were younger, like in your, how old are you now?
35.
35. Okay. Like in your 20s and stuff, did you ever have like a want to do this?
Like just art in general.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, like I said, there was times that I really liked it. I just never found like a passion in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the music, because I love music, like when I combined the two, that's when it really fell into place.
Do you have like, you said fly, but do you have some like a moment in your life when you were like, because you said you're hard on yourself. So
Yeah.
when you were like, fuck it, I'm going to put it out there. I believe in myself. Like it's time.
I don't even really, I guess I did a couple like paintings that I kind of was like, oh, I actually like this. And I think Westside actually like commented on one or two of them. And I was like, all right, well, if he likes them, that's a good sign. you
Yeah.
know? And then I felt a little more comfortable starting to like post more of the stuff. Like even today I posted a few like paintings that I did like before I started posting stuff. So I don't think I ever really posted those ones.
I saw that you had, I loved the Quasimodo one.
Yeah.
And the Hitler Wears Hermes too. Those are the two favorite because I remember those are some great ones.
Yeah.
So when Westside comments on your stuff, like, was that like affirmation that you were like, all right, I'm on the right path?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. It was like I got to be doing something right,
Were you showing people around your like friends and stuff your art, or were you more secretive about that?
I'd show like the kid I work with. He's like one of my best friends. I'd show him, because he likes hip hop and stuff. But a lot of my other friends aren't like huge into it, so I guess I didn't have a ton of people to show that would actually know like what it is. They'd be like, yeah, it looks cool, but
why do you think that like Griselda stemmed this art wave? And it's not just, I know I use Griselda as a blanket term, almost like as a genre, you know what I mean? And
the whole, like,
of course it's like, exactly, of course there's way more. I mean, you have even the subgroups like Lord Mob, shout out Me Fucks and Flea, like you got, Black Soprano Family, you now have drum work, but it's all kind of under this.
Yeah.
What is it about that like stemmed this art wave, do you think?
I mean, I don't really know. Like, I don't have the answers to that. I mean, from the beginning, it seemed like Westside was pretty like determined to like have the art go along with the music, and like with the merch and, selling prints of the covers, not just the albums itself.
Yeah. It's, well, the reason I ask is like, it's weird, right? Like there's bigger artists than them, but none that have started a renaissance like them or also have stemmed all these other styles. I mean, even this podcast I attribute to talking to Conway after the show at the Middle East. And like I didn't interview him, but I had a conversation with him and he was a fan of like me doing stand-up and I was a fan of his music. So I was like, oh, this is something I can do. It's like an energy thing. Like, you know what? I don't mean to get all weird with it, but it's like they created this energy that's pushing a lot of people. And I don't know what that is. It's, do you have an idea or what?
I mean, I don't, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. It's,
like, I think it's just kind of the culture as a whole. It's not just the music, it's the art, it's everything,
It's the lifestyle, the clothing. I mean, you come in with it and your piece and it's recognizable. And it never even says their names on the work, which is, it's cool. It's like, you either know.
I mean, I think that's a lot better than, you know, just having someone's name on your shirt, or
Yeah,
you know, having like an actual just picture of them on your shirt. It's like,
exactly.
you know,
Well, but what made you start the mural? Is because that's what really that's when I became like, oh my, you're like,
yeah,
you really are in it, like you care, because you're
Yeah.
not gonna do a mural if you don't really
yeah.
care.
Now that the mural actually helped me out a lot too. I think a lot more people started noticing when I started doing that.
When did you start that?
It was this winter, so you know, a month or two ago, probably 2 months ago.
When did you get the idea for it?
You know, I didn't really have the idea for it. I like my buddy owns that building, and we drink.
Do you want to shout out the company?
It's
So-
a New Tradition coffee shop.
Shout out New Tradition.
Yeah.
And he owns the building.
Yeah, and the coffee shop.
And the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And he came to you?
Well, we drink there every Tuesday night. Like he's like one of my best friends, so we're always there. And he's been kind of like always looking at my art and shit like that. And I don't know exactly how it came up, but we must have been talking about graffiti or something, because he has a bunch of other graffiti on like the building. They did like that powwow Wister, and they
Mhm.
you know, covered the whole back of the building. And he has some of the stuff inside too. And he was like, if you ever want to try it, I have like a whole alley. And I was like, oh, for real? And he's like, yeah, I mean, you could do whatever you want. And I was like, the next day I went out and bought a bunch of spray paint and like showed up. I'm like, he's like, oh, you want to do it now? I'm like, yeah, like unlock the alley. Let me in there.
You ever do any graffitiing before that?
No, it was the first time.
And what was your first one?
The West Side Gun piece.
That's tall.
Yeah.
So I want to tell the story on record of how we met. Is I saw your art and I'm 20 minutes from Worcester. I mean, that's how far. And I was like, oh, I really want to see this mural. And I knew the New Tradition Coffee Company, you always tag them. So I was like, it must be around that area.
Yeah.
You know, it must, if it's sponsored by that, then it must. So I was walking around for like 30 minutes and I saw there's a big SpongeBob mural. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it's not what I'm there to look for. I'm there to see your mural.
Yeah.
And then I'm on the phone with my dad and I literally go, I can't find it. I guess I'm going to leave. And that's when you say, nice hoodie. I have a Griselda hoodie on. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like you were, it was just a weird moment.
Yeah.
And that's a hidden alley. Like anyone listening that's going to try to find it, you can't really find it. Like it's tough.
Like people have tried and it's,
they fail.
Yeah. And it's usually locked too. So
is that cool for you? You said you're hard on your work. Do you like that it's kind of like you get to work on it on your own?
yeah, I mean, I want people to see it and stuff, but I kind of like that it's hidden too. It gives it a little more, you know, mystery or whatever. You know?
Yeah. Do you've had artists come, like the artists that you paint, you've had them come and see it, right? Some of them?
No, just, I mean, 1,000 Words came and took some Polaroids and stuff, but no one else quite yet.
Well, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like not in the middle.
And the weather hasn't been great for it either. It's been kind of cold out there painting.
So you did the West Side Gun one, 9 feet, and then was Conway next?
Yeah.
Another.
Yeah.
Were you like, those are big?
Yeah. I hated the Conway one at first. His arms were way too small and there's a bunch of stuff wrong with it, but I went back in. I'm like a little happier with it now.
But you never did this before, and you went the next day.
Yeah.
What? So when you heard that, were you like, "That's it"? When he offered it to you, were you like, "That's"?
No, I want to try that.
This is
because I've always kind of wanted to try it, but like,
Mhm.
you know, you have to have the opportunity, I guess. Like doing graffiti is one thing, you know, like going out and like tagging somewhere, but like to do like a mural, I figure it would take too long to like, you know, before you get caught or something, you know?
Yeah. So did you? Well, it's good. Like it's good. That's the weird thing that's the first time you did it. You did it so big, and it worked out. It's good. Like,
oh, I appreciate it.
of course, no. It's how long did that take you? The West Side Gun.
I don't really like maybe 3 or 4 hours or so.
Are you are you in the flow of painting outside? Like, what is that? Is it like painting graffiti? I don't know, like how to describe painting a mural.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they call it.
You know what I mean?
Like painting a mural.
Yeah.
No, I'm like super into it now. I actually just where my girlfriend works. It's Masterman's. They have like a screen printing shop and like a warehouse and stuff. And her boss just asked me to do a mural like inside the place.
Oh, really?
So I've been working on designing that, but it's a lot bigger than the alley, like tall wise and stuff. So
is that weird? Because that's gonna be a different style than
Yeah.
like rapper. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no,
Like
it's gonna be
rappers
different.
Polaroid.
it's gonna be different, but I'm excited for it. You know,
Mhm.
like to try something like big, like more like the back of the building that you saw. You know,
Oh,
like
wow.
something like that.
And this isn't in a long period of time. You said you started this mural in the winter.
Yeah, no, it's happening quick. So
Is that's how you know you're on the right path, right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it feels pretty good. You know, like
Do you want art
I
to
didn't think it would happen this quick.
I didn't think this podcast would happen as quick as it is, but that's it's cool. Like this, it's not really a self-help podcast. That's what it started out to be, but it is like the universe like shows you the path when you know what you're doing right.
Yeah.
You know what? And you're working hard. You gotta, like you saying, going out the next day and buying the pieces and then going and putting 3-4 hours into it. And then just this continual, like, you have to work hard.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
you
I
have
was
to,
there pretty much every single day until it started snowing too much to get in there.
and that's a passion for you. I mean, do you get more passion in art than music?
Right now, probably.
Overall, like, do you go into more of a flow state when you're painting than like when you're playing music?
I mean, I guess it depends on the situation. You know, like if you're actually playing a show like in front of people, like, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But as far as just like jamming by myself, I'd rather be painting, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think it goes hand in hand. That's why I love the art so much, because it's not just the art. It's like I'm doing it for like music, you know? I can listen to an album and like come up with ideas for the art, you know? Like,
but you also are doing it for yourself. It's not like there's like a gain from it other than like you want to offer. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you feel as if like this music has given you a lot, so like you want to offer them something too?
yeah, I just want to be part of it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and you know, I get too anxious and stuff to even attempt like rapping or anything like that, you know? So it's,
You ever try to rap?
no, I write, but I more write like poetry, and I write a lot of the lyrics for the band and stuff like that. So I've always been kind of into that, but no, not really the rapping.
Was it cool? So it's actually, I'm really happy that you are coming today, because the next episode, this is a little leak is UFO. He's the next
nice.
episode on the podcast. So he's coming on Sunday, and was that cool to have his art, him choose one of your pieces to put on his hoodie?
No, I mean,
I have the hoodie in my closet. It's too warm for me. I sweat like a pig when I'm on this podcast, so I can't wear it.
No, that was awesome. I mean, I haven't had any like, you know, clothing or anything like that done. So when he asked, I was like, yeah, of course. Like,
how did that come together?
I posted the picture, and I think fairly quickly he was asked like if he could use it, you know, like for like some limited merch or something. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like,
and that's such
he's like, I'll send you whatever I make. And I was like, cool. Like, and yeah, that was pretty much it. And then it took a while before he actually ended up, you know, making the hoodies and stuff. So the whole time I was kind of wondering, like, I hope he actually does it, you know, like.
Well, that's a different style than all your other, all your others. And I love that too. That's why I wanted to buy it, is because he's a great artist. He's
really
one of my favorites right now. And he's
CD that I did it for, the
Ghost of Ibiza.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite albums of last year. So
it was so good. Spit is probably I listen to every day.
Yeah.
And then Zoe, which is off the deluxe. He's just so good. And he works with a lot of Boston rap. Like he had Terminology produced. He has like Static. Mass has a weird rap scene. Yeah. It's not a rap scene, but then you look at like Al Divino or SD or, you know, 1,000 Words, or you have a Mural in Worcester, or Me Fucks and fucking Trill are up in P-Town recording an album with G4. Like, there's stuff going on here.
Yeah, no, there's a lot.
I asked Conway when he knew like he made it? No, this was in a conversation. And he was like, when I did a show in Boston is when he knew.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a weird energy. Like it fits to it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Were you ever a fan of like Boston rap, like term when he was younger or?
I've been listening to the terminology for a long time,
Mhm.
you know, so yeah.
Is that?
There's a lot of good stuff coming out of Worcester too.
Oh, real? Who's out of Worcester?
One of my buddies, he goes by Logun.
Shout out Logan.
Owns the Hangover Pub in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he put out a CD last year. It was actually really good, and I think he's starting like a little record label with it's Ghost of the Machine and Weapon EP.
Oh, wow.
And all of them are really good.
Out of Worcester.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how I feel with comedy too. Is like Massachusetts, it isn't like a big scene, but there's enough like momentum here that you can get things going.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that this would take off the way it did?
No, not really. I mean, I just started doing it for fun, you know, and
Mhm.
I mean, I'm still just doing it for fun. I'm not really making any money or anything. It's just
exactly. I do this for fun. I'm not making,
but if I didn't get like, I guess if I didn't get like any recognition for it or anything, like,
Mhm.
I don't know if I'd keep going like as hard as I've been going, you know, like.
Do you still love it?
Yeah.
The amount? I mean,
yeah, because I'm not really doing anything that like people are making me do, you know, like
Mhm.
I'm choosing to do whatever I decide to do. So if I'm not going to enjoy it, then I just won't do it.
So when did you draw that first pack? Like when did you get back to it? How long ago was that? Your first, like you said, the one that your first like tattoo, those designs.
Like probably maybe like 2 years or so, a year and a half, maybe like a year and a half. It wasn't that long ago.
So I have this like thing in art where I'm like, I'll never be good at it, so I'll never try. And like I love it, and I've always loved, but I never. Did you have?
I mean, to be fair, I don't think I'm that good at it. You know, like,
yeah, but you are.
I see some of the other artists, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not even on that level. You know.
But I think you have a unique style, and that's awesome. Well, it's funny that you're in like a hardcore band. It's like Griselda, where it's like the grimier, harder stuff, but it's the cartooning, the Charlie Brown-esque of these drawings. It's so unique. Like,
yeah. Well, speaking of.
Are you fucking serious? Thank you so much, man. That's amazing. I have to hold. Man, that's amazing.
That's
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I did it digital too. I don't.
Man, I gotta hold that up again. I'm speechless. I don't even.
Hold on,
thank
hold
you.
that up one more time. Hold it still so we
All
can
right,
see.
all right. Sorry.
We'll put a picture of that up too. That's amazing. Oh my god.
That is amazing. Thank you so much.
You can have both.
I love. Damn. I really appreciate that. And this is the hoodie I was wearing that you recognize, the anvil heart.
Yeah.
Why the penguin? What?
I don't know. I've been drawing that for way longer than I've been doing the art, and so it just kind of like came naturally for the signature.
That's a great logo with the X over the eyes.
Yeah.
Well, that was just like your
I
little.
think the X I added in when I started doing I don't think I had that when I originally was doing the penguin, but when I started signing things, I started adding the X. I just thought it looked cooler, I guess.
You do see. You have such a unique. What about the Charlie Brown and Griselda? Like, what made you combine the two? Because I could spend the next half hour of this podcast just admiring this, and I want to, but I don't know if people listening. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
I don't really know. I think like the one you saw today was one of the first ones. The one they were like trick or treating, and it wasn't actually like West Side. It was like Charlie Brown with his mask on, like dressed up as West Side Gun, and Snoopy dressed up as Fly God.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like actually me drawing somebody else as like a character. It was more drawing Charlie Brown dressed up as them, and I think that just kind of progressed.
Where did that idea for that one come from? If that was like one of your first ones.
I don't know. Like I said, I always kind of liked Charlie Brown, and I was listening to a lot of West Side Gun and Griselda, so it just kind of.
Where do you think?
I was doing other stuff too. Like one of my friends, I did a painting for him, and it was Bender and like some of the people from Futurama, like with like just Griselda merch on.
Oh,
like
really?
With like a painting of Hitler and like a frame on the wall.
You got to post that one.
Yeah, I think I might have. I think it's on there somewhere.
Oh, really?
I think it's
I'm gonna
way
have
back
to.
though.
I'm
It's
gonna
like
have to
before
go.
the art, so you have to like go through some other stuff to get there. You know.
Well, how'd you get a Kip Da Fog? And I told you I'm dyslexic as fuck, and I know I called you Frog on one of the first podcasts.
You're not actually the first one.
So I'm apologizing to your face for doing that. But how did you get that?
I don't know. Like, well, people have been calling me Kip since like kindergarten, so that's just always been there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had a different like name or handle or whatever it is like previously, and I don't know. I think me and one of my friends we were just going back and forth, making fun of each other one night. We were drunk and like smoking and stuff. And he said something about moving in like the fog or whatever. And I just did it because it was hilarious that night. And then I just never changed it.
And it worked.
Yeah, and now it's like, it is what it is. So like, I can't really change it now. So
that's why, okay. We were talking, I feel like things do happen for a reason. Yeah. I don't know how you feel, but that's how I feel.
Yeah.
So all that stuff, like the elusiveness of your mural, like that has no correlation to fog or the elusiveness to that. But I really thought like, oh, there's a correlation between those two.
No, it does kind of, I never thought of it, but it does kind of work. Huh?
It works in the elusiveness of you. And you are like, you're not, like you are very like low energy, you know, you're not, and it works for you. That's funny though.
Yeah. I was even like nervous about coming on here. Cause I'm like, I'm not a huge fan of talking
and
everything else. So I was like,
don't worry. I can talk enough for the both of us. That's what so you did that, you know, the drawing for a friend with the Futurama stuff. And then did you have people tell you to put it out? Did you have people like, or
I mean, that one I just posted because I liked it, and I wasn't even like planning on like doing what I'm doing now. You know, I just did it because I felt like painting something, and I was inspired by everything that I was seeing, so I just did it. And I think Westside actually commented on that one, and I was like, all right. And I don't remember what the next one I did was, but it kind of like I didn't like start running with it until, you know, far later.
Do you see art as something that you want to do full time?
I mean, I don't see it happening, you know, and I've built a pretty good business for myself, like with the landscape and stuff. So I wouldn't want to just give it up, you know.
Yeah.
Like, but if I could do less work and do, you know, more of the art too, that would be.
Well, do you see yourself like going into the merch game or selling prints, or do you feel like that'll pull away from your passion of it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I do want to do some stuff like that, but I'd like to do it kind of like on my own terms too, you know? Like,
the independent route.
Yeah. I mean, we're actually doing prints, me and 1,000 and Big Ghost are putting out some, like, I think you must have saw it. It's on like wood with all the Polaroids.
Oh yeah.
What is it? The Carpe Noctem album.
Yeah, that's a great album.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do prints of that?
We're not doing prints. We're gonna do it like the actual wooden thing.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Do you do other art other than just painting?
Yeah, I mean, before I was doing the painting, I was at like my dad has like a wood shop, you know, and I would go down there and I would try and make some stuff out of wood. Like I'd make like, you know, like shoes like Jordans or stuff like pieced together with
I saw the post of that.
Or like just other stuff. I used to make like welcome to Worcester signs and, you know, do different stuff with that.
You were always a creative guy.
Yeah.
Well then, do you feel like, so I'm 23, I'm young. Do you feel like you needed this, like you said you've created a good business for yourself and like you've said it, do you feel like you needed that to then get to where you are now, where you can like focus on the art? Or do you wish that like I mean, Griselda, you wouldn't have heard Fly God when you were younger,
Yeah.
but like, do you feel like this all needed to happen to get you where you were? Or do you wish, like, you look back, you're like, oh, I wish I had stuck to drawing sooner?
I mean, I guess like if you look at it like that, I wish I was drawing more throughout I would be better at it by now if I was drawing the whole time. But no, I'm like happy with the way it worked out because I've done like a bunch of different stuff, like even with the woodwork, and I learned, how to do a bunch of stuff with wood and all
Yeah.
that. So like,
Well, it's like, I used to build furniture when I was like 12,
Yeah.
woodwork. I loved it. And I always loved art, but it's that thing where it's like, I'm not good enough. Why would I do it? You know, that voice in your head, and you kind of, I feel like there's only so many things you can do that for. Like, that was stand up for me. Like when I got up on stage, it was like, the only way you'll get better is doing it. It's not like you're it's not like you're born with the talent. I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying with that? It's like, you have to just put the time in and get better. And do you think, like with the mural, are you liking the pieces that are coming out now more than like your original two?
Yes. But also there's like, sometimes I'll do one and I'm like, I don't love that one. There's a few that I do like, but
Do you have a favorite?
I don't really know. The Gorilla Nems one I like that one a lot. I like the Bodega one because I love the woodstock above it. I think that was probably the best line work I did.
Do you feel like you're getting better at art? Like you're a better painter now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely improving, but I've been doing it like every single day. So naturally you're going to get a little better.
Are you nervous about...
I still don't like what I do most of the time.
That's crazy. Like I loved your Stove God one, and that wasn't even Stove God. Like it wasn't even like a Polaroid of him, but I loved the storm cloud, the raining bricks, and the cartooniness of it is great. Like,
well, I actually did that on a flash sheet, so I like pulled it from the flash sheet and just threw it up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Stove God's probably one of my favorite up and comers right now too.
That was actually when I did that flash sheet, that was one like when I actually started to be like, maybe I could keep going with this, because that was the only flash sheet a few people hit me up were like, yo, can I get that? And I ended up selling a couple of them, like remaking them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was like the first time I like sold any of the art. So
was that cool? Like getting your first,
I remember I was on vacation. We were in like the Deerfield River, I think, like tubing or something, going down the river. I think that's when someone hit me up, and I was super excited.
Were you nervous about that? Like, this is the real deal now?
Yeah, I don't know if I was like nervous because of that. I was like nervous, I was like, I hope that they actually like it once they get it. You know what I mean? Like, I hope it's as cool as it, in person.
Well, that's the thing is about like monetizing it, is like, it's tough to be like hard on yourself like this.
Yeah, I had no idea like what to charge or anything like that. So I still wouldn't if someone asked. So
what are like what next pieces are you working on?
Well, lately I've been working a lot on the mural I told you about at my girlfriend's work.
What's that one gonna be? Can you give any details? It's all right.
I haven't really told them yet, but it's basically gonna be.
You don't have to give. Honestly, you don't have. No, rule number 2 on this podcast is no snitching, so you don't have to snitch on it.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, they probably won't even listen. But what I have like an idea for is like an octopus, like the size of the wall, and then like a sinking ship with like a rowboat kind of rowing away from the sinking ship.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have like the people from the work that work in that department in the boats, or like in like little like life rafts.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna have like Snoopy flying over in like the plane with like the like the
and the Red Baron,
with the banner though, when they pull the banners.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be that with the name of the company on it. So
that's a big endeavor that you're
It's gonna be big.
Are you excited to
I'm really
move on to
excited
the
'cause
next
I've never
step?
done anything like it, so it's like I'm nervous to do it, but I'm excited.
What happened? Okay, with art, I'm the one thing I feel like that doesn't allow me to keep doing it is because of mess ups. Like I feel like if I
Yeah.
fuck up, I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like with a mural, I feel like that's very almost permanent, you know?
I mean, spray paint's a lot easier than, to me at least, than doing like watercolor and stuff like something like that. If you mess up, it's, you basically have to start over.
Mhm.
Like you can't. It's hard to go over stuff like that with spray paint. Like if you mess up, well, you can go right over it with a different color, and it's fairly easy.
I
I'm not
guess.
saying it's easy, but it's easy to go over your mistake and try again.
Hmm. Well, what do you want to do with the mural? So you have one side of the wall, almost all.
Yeah.
You were telling me when I saw it that you want to do like the floor and all. Like, do you have a vision when you see it of an end product?
Not really, because even when I started, I didn't know really what I was doing. I guess when I doing the Polaroid and stuff, that was going pretty well. So I was like, if I was going to do something, I might as well do one of the Polaroids. And
Yeah.
then I just kind of went from there and was running with it. I want to add some more like the old stuff I was doing, like the flash type stuff. And like, I've already done some of it, but I feel like that would be like cool filler in between the Polaroids and everything. So
Are you nervous about like the winter being over and getting back to a real job?
yes,
And taking away from that time?
I think about it every day. Because like I feel like this winter is when it really started like going well, and I was drawing a lot more and stuff. So like having to go back to work, I'm kind of like dreading it, but
Are
I'm
you
gonna have to make time for it. Like
Mhm.
last year, I'd work 6 or 7 days a week, but like I'd rather take a day or two to draw, and
Yeah.
do what I want to do, go to the alley and stuff like that. So
Well, that's what life is worth. Like
Yeah.
you have to do your passions.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were doing music, and do you miss performing on live, like performing live, like in front of an
I
audience?
haven't in many years, because the last band I was in, it was like, I don't know, 5 years ago or something. It's
wow.
been a while, and
Mhm.
we've been in this one, but for maybe a couple of years, but we kind of weren't even ready to play shows, before COVID,
Mhm.
and obviously we haven't been able to since. So I feel like it's gonna work out well for us, because we're ready now, but once you can, we'll actually be ready. So it kind of worked out. We weren't really ready to start playing them anyways. So
Do you feel like that? Like with art, you said the guy offered you the wall. The
Yeah.
next day you went out and did it. And now every day you're thinking about like, shit, am I going to have time for that?
yeah,
Like, is that how you feel about music too? Or,
I mean, music's a little different. Like as far as playing goes, 'cause
Mhm.
we pretty much have a set schedule. It's like, all right, we practice on Sundays,
Yeah.
and so that's what it is. Like I look forward to doing it,
Mhm.
but there's really we all have different shit going on. So
Yeah.
it's like, we can't just be like, oh, you guys want to jam on Monday? Like it's probably not going to happen. So, every Sunday we look forward to doing it, and
Mhm.
that's pretty much what it is.
Well, it's the thing. It's like you want to keep loving the things that you're doing. It sucks when like you see, or I talk to people and the business side ruins it for them. You know what I mean? The like having to figure out how to ship the merch, or the figuring out, it's like it takes away from the actual passion. So it's cool that you like feel this about these, because it shows that you're not doing it for anything
Yeah.
other than yourself,
Yeah.
What artist do you want to paint Polaroid, or what artist do you want 1,000 words to take pictures of so you can paint them?
It's a good question. I don't really know. I feel like I've done a lot of like my favorite artists already.
It is tough. It's weird. Like, I don't know, but it's like, I'm always trying to find new artists now. It's like, I'm always trying to find who the new guy that I love is. And it's cool, but there's so much, and
there's some people that are like harder to draw because they don't have as many like with like the Charlie Brown stuff, they kind of have to have certain features that you can like show that it's them, you know, like so like if someone doesn't have a beard and they're bald, it's just gonna look like Charlie Brown, you know, like
Yeah. Which ones were hard for, like, do you have one that was the most difficult?
I don't really know. I just did. It hasn't been posted yet, but I did one for like DJ Premiere, and that one was kind of. It took me quite a few takes to even get it, so you could kind of tell it was him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because he's not as he doesn't have a lot of like.
Yeah, and I wasn't good at the 5 o'clock shadow either, so like I was trying to figure out how to like do that in some sort of like cartoon style.
Were you ever a concert guy beforehand?
Like just going to concerts?
Yeah, going to concerts and stuff.
I've been going to concerts my whole life. So,
what was the last concert you went to before all this? That's over a year. That's a year ago now. Isn't that
crazy? I think
crazy?
it was a Griselda show. I think we went to 2 of the last ones right before.
The What Would Sheen Gun Do?
Yeah, we went to the one in Boston, and then we went to the one in, was it Hartford?
There was one in Hartford, one in Providence, and one in Boston. Yeah.
I think we went to the Boston and Hartford one.
There's like I go to a lot of shows too, and with rap especially live, it's like it really shows who an artist is if they're good live. Like Griselda's great live. I was so mad I wasn't.
They always bring a lot of people out and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the first time I saw them was at the Middle East, and they brought Sky Zoo out, and that's awesome.
Crazy.
He's one of my favorites. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've actually never drawn him. I guess he would be the one that I would like to draw the most, but also he's one of the ones that would be kind of hard to draw, I think.
So you like the more artistic? You said you wrote poetry too.
Yeah.
It is like being in a hardcore band, and like that's the cartoons and like the poet and the artistic rap. It's cool that the whole like the Sky Zoo LZ. I love the artistic rap is still shown respect in the grimy world, you know?
Yeah.
Well, do you have like, what else do you listen to other than that? Do you listen to any trap stuff? Any like?
Yeah, like the other day I was like listening to like Pop Smoke. I was at the anniversary of Meet the Woo or whatever. I had that going for a day or two. I listen to a lot of different stuff.
Do you listen to you said you don't listen to hardcore, but do you listen to any non-rap?
Yeah, I mean,
music?
I still listen to hardcore, just not as often as I did.
Yeah.
You know, like if people in my band, they'll always send us like songs and stuff to listen to, and every once in a while I'll check one of them out. They're always kind of like shitting on me, you know, because I won't really listen to a lot of the shit they send, and I'll send them like rap videos, and but they do like them. They do like rap, so it works, and they get it too, because like I play bass, so like I feel like listening to rap actually helps me come up with riffs for the hardcore stuff, because it's fairly similar, if you kind of break it down.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's like my dad was metal. But he loved The Predator by Ice Cube. When I was like 4 years old, I knew every word to that album because that's all he played. Like and he was saying how similar they were. Like the grimy rap and the metal and the hardcore. Like it is very similar, just from different backgrounds. Kind of like comedy and rap for me. Like interviewing and talking to a lot of producers and rappers. It's funny the similarities I see in comedy and rap, and like the come up, or how you feel about it, or how you feel about writing or creating.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way with art? Like I don't know. Where do you draw your inspiration from other than music?
I don't really know. It's mostly been music, you know. Like I mean, obviously, like cartoons and stuff that I.
Are you still a cartoon fan?
Like I said, I don't watch them that often, but I feel like I always like drawing them. Like I said, even when I was little, I would just draw like Dragon Ball Z characters. You know, this is in grade school, so I guess I always kind of enjoyed drawing that stuff. So like combining that with actually changing the cartoons and like, adding the rap and hip hop elements into them, and now with graffiti, it's like adding kind of like a third style into it, so it's I think it's kind of progressing, you know.
Where do you do you like the graffiti more, or the you know, the painting a mural, or do you like the draw, like sitting down and drawing?
I guess right now I've been enjoying the graffiti more, but that I think it's also because it's new. You know, I like doing both. Sometimes it's nice just to be at home, you know, having a drink and sitting at the kitchen table painting rather than being in the alley, you know, when it's 30 degrees out.
Do you get in that, I call it the flow state, but do you get in that flow state when you're drawing where you're kind of an autopilot almost?
Oh yeah, like even in the alley is like a great example of that, because I'll be out there for 4 or 5 hours sometime and it's 30 degrees, and my buddy that owns the shop will come out and he's like, how the hell are you still out here? Like, it's freezing.
Yeah.
Like, he'll come out and just smoke a cig with me or something and be like, like, I'm freezing already, you've been here for 4 hours. Like,
well, that's the thing where I was talking about, like, where you get your inspiration from, or I guess, like, where do you think your ideas come from? Because, like, when you're in a flow state, you're not thinking about what you're creating.
yeah.
But what comes out is your best creation.
Yeah.
You know, like when I'm just writing.
Yeah, if you think too hard about anything, I feel like it's not going to come. Like, even with poetry, like, you know, if I'm sitting there like, all right, I need to write a poem right now, it's probably not going to come out. And if it does, it's not going to be great. You know, like most of the stuff I write or draw, it's like, you know, I'll wake up and be like, oh, that's a good idea. I need to draw that. Like, you know, and I'll end up not being able to sleep, and I'll be up at like 4 in the morning, like drawing. My girlfriend will be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I had an idea. I had to like at least start it so I don't forget it. Like,
Have you ever thought about where that comes from?
no, not really.
So there's this author, Stephen Pressfield, who wrote a book called The War of Art. And he was talking about the muse comes to you. Like, you aren't the muse. Like, you're not just going to be like, you have to sit and just do it until it finally comes to you. It doesn't come from you. And that's a weird idea for me, that it's like, I'm not creating it. I'm like a conduit for creation.
Yeah.
Like, I think I love that about comedy or rap, or you hear something that someone says and you're like, I thought that exact same thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, you did, but you weren't the conduit to express it.
Yeah.
And that's what I wonder about art. Do you feel like...
Yeah, I mean, like Bukowski had a lot of lines like that, you know, like in his poetry, he'd talk about like, you know, it's not about like wanting to be like a writer. It's like, you have to be. Like, I like don't even want to be, but I like need to do this, you know, like.
What about poetry drew you in? Because that's not, I don't want to speak, but I did not expect you to say you wrote poetry when...
Honestly, like I was kind of like, I guess I was always kind of like a little different, you know, like even in college, like, you know, I would just read on my own, but it was always books that like no one else was really reading. Like, you know, like Dostoevsky and like Tolstoy. I read like War and Peace and like a lot of poetry and stuff. And yeah, it just kind of got me into writing and like a different way to express myself. And like it kind of went hand in hand with the music, like writing lyrics and stuff like that. Like, I wrote a lot of lyrics for a lot of the bands I was in. So
do you think that is, going back to the point earlier, the draw of using Griselda as a blanket statement? Griselda is the outsider mentality of it, where it's like, I would read books that I thought I was different, or I would do things that people like were different, but I knew that it was in the end helping me become my greater self. And I think that's kind of like, who else puts Chris Benoit on a t-shirt? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, it's the outsider mentality of it, where it's like, you can just focus on what you want to do and create. Yeah. And that's kind of, I guess that's where I feel like maybe that energy comes from. Like, when you hear Fly God, you're like, this is I fit into something, maybe, you know. Like, when I heard Reject 2, I don't know why. I haven't lived, I've had crazy things happen to me, more than people probably would think looking at me. Yeah. Like, but I haven't lived the stuff in Reject 2, but when I heard it, I was like, oh, there's someone else who kind of like understands my way of thinking. Yeah. Does that I don't know. Is that...
No, I get that, because you don't actually have to experience the exact events to experience like a way of thought.
But but you also experience life differently than others. Like
Yeah.
when you live life differently than the people around you, you want to kind of realize the type of people who have lived the similar,
Yeah.
or at least have similar outputs. And that's rap and comedy.
Yeah.
Rappers and comedians deal with the world the same way that I feel like I deal with it or think about it.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way with art? Like that's why like the music inspired you. Like you said, you saw Squat, you saw Seppington, like they were just doing their own thing. It wasn't art for art. It was art for like what their passion was.
Yeah. That and the style, like the different styles, I like really fell in love with like how like you can see like a Squat piece and you know it's that, or like you can see like Bernard Arts like in his t-shirts and all that. You know it's his, or like even Lord NMF or whatever.
Yes.
Like
Soto. There's so many of these good artists, but they're not creating it for the art world.
Yeah.
Which is not like is that why you think you didn't go into it sooner, as you didn't see yourself in the art world?
Yeah, I guess. And like I said, I never like, it was hard for me to like pick up like a brush and just like, all right, what am I going to paint? Like I would have to look up a landscape or something, be like, all right, I'm going to paint a landscape. But it wasn't that enjoyable to me. Like I didn't mind it like occasionally, but I didn't enjoy it enough to like keep pursuing it until I found something that I was like, I'm actually generating ideas and like, it's like I'm not just like looking at a picture and drawing it, like
there's an art world for you. It's not the art world.
I guess I needed something to draw and I just never really had it.
Do you feel like you're part of a community now that you've...
Yeah, no, I mean, kind of. I feel like I'm still kind of like on the outskirts, but I feel like I've gotten some, love from doing it and stuff. So, I mean, that's pretty awesome just seeing anyone like your pictures,
Yeah. And so you're focusing on the mural at your girlfriend's place of work. Are you like just focusing on that, or do you have...
I mean, I'd like to get back into the alley too, but it's there's
only so many hours in the day.
There's like 3 feet of snow in there right now too, so it's tough. I shoveled it out, but it's maybe next week I'd like to try and get in there a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I really appreciate you coming on. I'm really happy that I got to talk to you. And it's weird how life works, like how I ran into you in the alley and how you literally live 10 minutes from here. And thank you so much for coming on. And thank you again for this. Like,
of course.
I'm just going to be staring at this.
Had me on, so I had to bring something.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I want everyone to check out your work at Instagram at Kip Da Fog.
Yeah.
Fog, not frog.
Yeah.
And do you have anything else you want to plug?
No, that's
the mural is at no one will be able to see it, but go to New Tradition Coffee and and then maybe if you wear a Griselda hoodie, you'll run into you sometime. But thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it.